creativity, and reach your true potential. My name is Katrina Sevilla, and with me is my friend and professional beauty and fashion guru, Data Plan. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to talk about aging gracefully and so much more with our super special guest, Dr. James Boado. All right. I don't know about you guys, but I am really excited for today's topic. Oxidative stress and aging are for sure very important subjects. So that's why we have invited Dr. James Boado to join us in this episode. Dara, could you please introduce our beloved guest for today?
Yes, good afternoon. Actually, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pinoy Real. And I'm so excited because this is our first time, Katrina, to have a guest here in Pinoy Real. And I'd like to thank Dr. James again in advance for being our guest tonight, for gracing our show. And okay, I have an introduction for Dr. James. He is a physician, a registered nurse, a pharmacy botany, aesthetic dermatosurgery and anti-aging practitioner, an academician, consultant, strategist, and entrepreneur. He is also a fellow of the Philippine Academy of Aesthetics and Age Management Medicine Incorporated, Philippine Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine Incorporated, Philippine Academy of Medical Specialists, International Association of the Stem Cell Transportation USA, International Association Cell Therapy Europe. He is an associate fellow of International College of Surgeons and Philippine Academy of Aesthetic Surgery. He is a diplomate of the American Academy of Aesthetic Medicine and clinical dermatology for family physician at the National Skin Center Singapore. And most of all, he is now the medical director and owner of Renewage Skin and Body Age Renewal. Ang dami, my goodness, he has such an amazing and a long list of credentials. If I read them all, baka maubos yung time natin dito sa Pinoy Real, Katrina and Dr. James. So sinamarize ko na lang siya. So without further ado, we'd like to welcome Dr. James Boado. Welcome to the show.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Dara, for that wonderful introduction, and Miss Katrina for that wonderful intro also. And then, of course, I am so delighted. I'm actually so excited to be gracing your wonderful show. And of course, I'm actually mesmerized that, anything can just happen, that, Katrina is in Belgium. We're both in the Philippines, okay, and trying to rush, okay, for this particular show. I'm really astounded. I'm actually so excited. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Dr.
Dr.
James.
Yes, thank you. It's a real honor to have you here. I know you have a super busy schedule, but you still join us today. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. So now I'm going to play a video, just a quick video about Dr. James. So enjoy.
Oh, thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you for that. Such a wonderful video. And also, I can't wait to really dive into our subject for today, Dr. James and Dara. So, yes, could you please let us know like a bit what are we gonna expect for today's topic, which is I know all about aging gracefully.
Oh,
Yes, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, of course, Miss Katrina and Miss Dara, okay, that will be talking about aging, which is actually very close to me since I do aesthetic and anti-aging, since these two practices or discipline encompasses, aging gracefully. So I'll be just be discussing on, how first, okay, that we age, what is aging for first, and then how do we age, and then of course, what are the things, I'll be just giving you some tips on how to age gracefully in a while. So that's it. Okay.
Okay, very interesting. Yes, I'm super curious about anti-aging and how to actually prevent that. So I think let's start in with what actually are the causes and what are the factors that contribute to aging, because there are a lot of myths going on in the internet, from the people around that we actually don't know if it's real or not.
Oh
So
well,
let's
that's true. Yeah, of course. Okay, a lot of things there written in the or like okay being viewed by a lot of our clients or patients, and then they ask us always. Okay, but then of course let's start and or let's begin with like okay, what is aging? Because we have to have the same frequency of like what is aging. If like okay you're 20 years old and you're already saying that you're aged. Okay, what about okay 60 and they're aged too? So let's just say that aging is a progressive physiological change that actually leads to senescence. Okay, when we say senescence, okay, there's a decline of the biological functions, and then of course the ability to adapt to the metabolic stress. I know that a lot of us are stressed nowadays. Okay, especially now with even the pandemic. Okay, we don't know how to cope with it, and then that actually makes us so old. Even just by staying at home, okay, we are actually aging without us actually doing anything. We're having a sedentary lifestyle, then we are aging as well. So that actually is, well, of course, aging takes place in the cell, tissues, or organs. And sometimes, well, of course, when it has actually overwhelmed the body, then later on, then, okay, it could cause death to people, okay, to us, human beings. Now, of course, you mentioned about the anti-aging. Okay, so, okay, in anti-aging, we actually study the aging processes, and it's actually devoted to understanding the control of all the factors contributing to the finitude of actually the individual's life. So it's not just concerned exclusively to the ability, but of course, it's also important to distinguish between purely physiochemical as well as those that actually accidentally affect us or the organismic process of the disease and the injury. And of course, this could also lead to death. So there's also the component that we look into the lifespan, the aging, and the death. And when we talk about longevity, it's the lifespan. And of course, when we talk about aging, it's the chronological sequencing of the processes of getting senescent. And then, of course, these are all actually manifestations of senescence. Okay, so that's basically aging. So I'm sorry if like I would be talking a lot. Okay, but yes, I'm trying to just minimize it. But then, of course, that's how I actually can just be going for it. That's anti-aging and aging for me, right? Okay.
okay.
Yes.
Yes. It's quite interesting, Dr. James, because yeah, I felt like I'm in a medical school all of a sudden with all these technical terms. But it's
Exactly.
very yes, it's quite interesting, and like what you said, can we say also that aging is unstoppable? Like because we cannot do anything with it. It's just gonna happen.
Exactly. It's unstoppable. It's going to really happen, but we can actually halt a bit. Okay, we can actually prolong the stage of not actually going into the senescence, or we can be preventive if, like, okay, we want to actually delay aging. We can do so much nowadays, right?
Okay. Yes. And yes, Dara, would you like to add something? Oh wait. We can't seem to hear Dara.
I
Hey
think Dara
Dara,
is on mute. All right.
are
Darren,
you on mute?
yes, you're on mute.
Gonna check. Hey, Dara. All right. There seem to be some. All right.
Something is wrong with the mouth.
Mhm.
Hey, Miss Dari, you're
All
on
right.
mute. Right, okay.
Mhm. All right. Anyway, yes, we're gonna. You know what, Dara? It's the word is gonna be okay. Just leave the session and then come back in again. I think that's what something
We're just
went
gonna wait
wrong
for
with.
you, Miss Dara. Okay.
Yes, we're gonna wait for you and play some music.
Right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, going back to you, Dr. James,
Mm-hmm.
regarding the causes and the factors that contribute to aging. What happens exactly inside the body or inside human's body during the process of aging? Because most of the time when we say aging, we only talk about the
Yes,
appearance.
that's
I mean,
true.
the outside, the physical body.
Yeah.
People don't know anything about what's going on inside.
Yeah, actually, that is right. He said about like, okay, it's just more on superficial or more on the physical aspect that we look into as aged, okay, or as an aging person. But of course, it's imperative that we know also of the biological theories of aging, okay, that actually explains why we are aging and what comes after or what goes on, okay, inside the body when we are aging. So let me just discuss about that. There are a lot of facets in aging, but there's no single theory that would discuss or describe aging as it is. Okay, but then of course we talk about genetic that plays a role. So genetic is the genetic theory of aging actually speaks about the telomeres. I'm sure you may have heard of telomeres at one point in time in like okay elementary or high school, but then of course I'm going to emphasize that we also talk about that in anti-aging. When we say telomeres, this is actually the repeated segment of the DNA inside the chromosome. Say, for example, when the cell divides, and then of course they're going to be the shortening with shortening of the telomeres. So with the repeated division, there'll be shortening of the telomeres, and that would correspond to the lifespan of a person. So the shorter the telomeres, okay, the shorter is the lifespan of the person, and that causes the aging or the senescence. Okay, and then of course we have others apart from the genetic. We have the non-genetic theories. Okay, and then of course these theories could also be applied to aging or senescence, like the wear and tear. Okay, so of course, like in the machines, okay, there's a wear and tear also, but then of course you can just dispose it off, like okay, once it's already busted. But of course, you cannot be just throwing away lives, okay, the human bodies, okay, once it has actually got into senescence or the old aging. Of course, we actually would do some regenerations of the cells as we have the capacity to regenerate inside our body, of course. But then, of course, this wear and tear also would have some accumulation of some pigments in the body. So once you have seen cells that have pigments, say for example in the heart, or say for example in the liver or the lungs, okay, this actually would depict that you're already senescent or aged. Okay, so that's another one. Okay, and then we also have a cross-linking theory. So we have this cross-linking theory of damage or senescence. Of course, this is actually, say, for example, your skin, your tendons, your ligaments, they also would age. Okay, and that of course there will be some loss of the elasticity, say for example, of the elastin, and then of course your collagen would actually be deformed or de-shaped or actually be changing into size and shape, and later on they're not able to function well, so because of the different size or the shape. So with the malformation or disformation, okay, they can actually be going into aging, right? Okay, so there are others causes of aging also that we have, like autoimmune. Oh, there you are, Dara. Beautiful Dara, can you
Hi,
hear
I'm
us?
back.
Yes,
Yes, I can hear
Yes,
you. Can you
yes.
hear me now?
Oh
Ah,
yes,
thank
loud
God.
and clear.
yes,
Okay,
Anything
thank
goes
you.
with live, right?
I know.
yes,
My
But you're still the
goodness.
beautiful Dara, still
yes,
composed, okay, despite the rush and all this.
yes. I'm so
Thank you.
happy to
Thank
have
you,
you again.
Dr. James.
Uh-huh.
All right.
You're
Yes.
welcome. Right. Yes. As
Yeah.
I
So
was just
Yes,
Sorry,
carry on,
Katrina.
Dr. James. Carry on.
Let me just go on. Like, okay, as I was just talking about, okay, the theories of aging, okay, Dara. I told her, Katrina, that there is also the genetic and non-genetic forms of aging,
Mm-mm.
and what causes in the what happens to the body when we are aging at that particular stage. So say, for example, when we have another theory of aging, which is the autoimmune. Note that the
Mm.
body has the ability to defend, okay, against, okay, what's this, invaders, okay, microorganisms, now of course, and then build us, okay, an antibody against a particular antigen, or the etiologic agents, or some of these microbes that we are encountering. But now, okay, oh, well, of course, let me just apply it with now the COVID case. Okay, we have to build our
Yeah.
antibody against microorganisms, okay, and then against COVID-19. But then, of course, later on, that's going to be it's like, okay, there's a memory already that, okay, hey, you cannot be going inside our body anymore because you have been there. Now we've already mounted an immunity against you, just like that. That's usually the
Mm.
immune system reaction. But now this time, okay, when we say autoimmune, there is an inability of this antibody to actually sense if it's a foreign or actually self, meaning yourself. Okay, what happens that then is that, okay, it's going to be combating all these cells, be foreign or natural cells, meaning your own cells could also be attacked by your own antibody or your immune system. So that's autoimmune. Then that can cause you aging as well. Okay, so later on, when you have a lot of bombardments and a lot of these infections causing you, and then of course, there's also that autoimmune effect. It's like, okay, you have autonomous region, say for example. Okay, when you have
Mm.
autonomous region, okay, that heart, say for example, is going to falter because, okay, it's constantly being bombarded by your immune system, say for example. So that's autoimmune theory of aging. And then we also have another cause of aging, and then we have this we call as the glycation theory of aging, meaning those that we encounter constantly. When we say glycation, it's the sugar, meaning it's a carbohydrate. You know, we need to survive. We need to eat a lot of our what do you call this, rice in the morning, or any pasta or bread. Yeah, that's good, but in moderation. But should you go beyond it, okay, then of course, then your blood will be glycated, and then there's going to be a problem later on because it's going to cause you some inflammatory reactions, as you know, as you may have seen or you may have heard from those that diabetic patients, because they are glycated and later on they have senescence, okay, aging. And you may see some of the patients who are actually diabetic, they really look so old. Meaning, even if like, okay, they're young, okay, they would look old. And then of course, cells are actually deteriorating, dwindling. Okay, some would have, okay, hyperpigmentations on the face and all their body, and then some parts that are actually constantly inflamed. So that is actually glycation theory that causes early aging. And then of course, we have the oxidative damage theory. Well, a lot of our exposures, okay, causes as aging. When we say oxidative, okay, stress. Okay, you may have heard of these terms, oxidative stress, or you may have heard of reactive oxygen species. Well, we're talking about free radicals actually. So these free radicals are constant in our environment. Then, okay, when we talk about free radicals, they have an unpaired electrons in their molecule. This actually happens inside a cell. Okay, so once, okay, a free radical has get into our system, okay, it will try to pair with the unpaired electrons will try to pair with, say, paired electrons, and they will disrupt that particular equal, or say for example balance cell. And then later on, that becomes also unpaired, and they become also free radical. So once they have a lot of free radicals, okay, then you can have into ROS, or reactive oxygen species, that would later on be causing a lot of that would be detrimental to the cells. So once you have reactive oxygen species equal to oxidative stress, then of course, death of the cell. Like there's what we call as the apoptosis, or programmed cell death, without you knowing that you have been exposed to, say, for example, what are our oxidative stress? We're constantly using our phone. Then we have a lot of radiations every single day, every minute of the day. Okay, so then of course those radiations, even when we sleep, we would actually just place it on our bed or say on our pillow. So then we are actually
Mhm.
exposed even when we're sleeping. So a lot of ionic radiations.
Yes.
Okay, and then of course we have, okay, laptops. Okay, the blenders that we use, they're all laden with yeah, frequencies and radio waves. Okay, those were using the, of
Mhm.
course, the hair dryer. Miss Dara. Okay, let me just tell you. Okay, when I met Miss Dara, okay, it's because of the particular product that we actually what's that? The hair blower. Okay, that particular company actually doesn't have, okay, radiations on that. Okay, that's very good.
Dyson. It's
So are we
Dyson,
allowed to?
Dr.
Are we allowed to?
James.
Yes, exactly. Are we allowed to just be mentioning? Because I'm actually afraid that you might just charge me.
Mm. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yes, I remember. Because even that the blowers that are available can actually have some radiations, and then that later on that could cause you apoptosis. You were exposed, and then later on you would not be feeling it outright, but then of course later on the cells are dying. So hair cells dying. Okay, you're falling off of hairs. A safe example. So this is oxidative stress. Okay, so a lot of us are not aware that we are all constantly bombarded with a lot of these ionic radiations, and then of course the frequencies, ultrasound, okay, X-rays, of course nowadays. Okay, you have to. Oh, you're coughing. Okay, then X-ray to see if whether you have COVID-19. So these are the things that causes us some panic, because of course a lot of us are exposed to not just the COVID-19, or possible that you're exposed to COVID-19, but then of course one ancillary or diagnostic procedure that is not needed constantly. If whether you're progressing into pneumonia, then you would have to have X-ray. But of course, how many times should you be going for X-ray if when you turned negative for say the first first time that you had some symptoms, but then of course you had an X-ray, and then thereafter, if like okay, you got exposed to another time, okay, then of course you might just have to do X-ray again. So that will be deleterious also, and that could cause you
Mm.
some aging also. And of course, I wonder if like okay, how old are these people in the laboratory? I mean, in the X-ray setup or the laboratory. No, of course, if I would see, I would
Mm.
seem to actually be counting their age, because probably they're already of age. I mean, they were younger, but then of course they look so aged because of the constant exposure to the radiation.
Mm.
Wow.
So a lot of things that actually causes that, that these are just the common. Of course, we also have the mitochondrial theory of aging, that of course this causes a lot of deleterious effect. Well, we know of the mitochondria. Remember in elementary and high school, we actually would have this as the powerhouse of the cell. Yeah, but then of course,
Yeah.
when the
Mm.
material there, the DNA in the mitochondria, is actually affected with all these frequencies and radiations, and also that causes also a depletion of the oxygen. So then also that causes also some problems, or some aging for us. And then also we have inflammatory reactions. So when we are constantly having some inflammatory reactions, like allergic rhinitis, sinusitis, okay, pharyngitis, laryngitis, rheumatoid arthritis, anything that ends with itis that says inflammation, you're constantly having that tonsillopharyngitis, okay, this can all be leading to aging also in the end.
Okay.
So I don't want to
Oh,
scare all our viewers and listeners, but then of course these are all just some of the causes of aging, right? Okay, so
wow. It feels like I'm in a master class of anti-aging. It's super well explained, Dr. James.
oh,
Thank you
so thanks. Okay,
so
actually, I'm just trying to just explain it, but then of course, as I told Miss Dara, okay, I don't know how to actually be looking into anti-aging or discussing anti-aging when I have like okay, 20 books of that. Okay, to sum it up,
Mm.
right? Okay, but then of course, hopefully, I'm actually conveying the message very well.
Yes, it is. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
yes, you are.
We do have
Thank
a
you.
question here from our viewers. Actually, my husband is watching right now,
Oh,
and
good.
yes, and he commented in the live, and he is asking a question. He says, "Informative theories, well explained." So those
Thank you.
are those determined by my biological age? Is that determined the
Well,
biological?
yes, it could be actually just determining your biological age. But then, of course, okay. there's just difference between the biological age or the chronological age, right? Okay, so sometimes it's actually just a number when you count every time you would blow your candles. Okay, that's your chronological age. But sometimes, okay, you may be 50, but you age or you look like, okay, you're already 70 or 80s. Okay, so that is actually alarming because you might not be actually functioning at that particular chronological age. You're actually burdened with all your functionalities, right? Okay, so it's important that you'll be at par, meaning you can be actually just doing the things that a normal 50 years old will be doing. Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. And is there a way to measure it?
Right.
Oh, actually, we have ways to measure it. Like, okay, the tanita, okay, that you would have to actually just be jumping into the tanita, and then of course just put your hand and just look into your age. But then of course we have other ways of actually doing measurements of, like in the laboratories, we have to measure the blood. Of course, a lot of the hormones, enzymes. Okay, so if and when okay
Mm.
you have a search of a particular enzyme or hormone may probably well, definitely there is a problem. Okay, and then we have to correlate it well with, okay, say the functionality, if it's actually hyper or hypo, and then of course there's a way that we can actually be doing remedy or treating that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's via the blood test and checking out
Yes.
that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. All right, so
Yes.
I hope that answers your question, Renat. Um,
Oh, that's
okay,
his name,
yeah,
Renat. Okay.
Renat is a good one. We have another one from Tin here. What is the best thing to do to fight anti-aging?
To fight anti-aging, that's kind of redundant in the state. Okay, anti-aging is already the word that we use to fight all these theories that make us actually aged. Okay, so there's so many things that we have to consider in aging, but then of course just to give you some the most common things that we need to actually do. And as a tip, I'll be giving you that to actually age gracefully as our topic, right? Okay. So, well, we have so many things. Like, okay, for one, we can actually start with um, exercise. Me starting
Yeah.
exercise, me
I
coming from.
agree.
Okay, I may be right. Okay, so
I
in saying
agree.
that, because of course that's the number one thing. Okay, uh, okay, let's just reserve it for a moment, since of course you will not be believing it, like, okay, I'm doing the exercise myself. Okay, but me, because I'm an aesthetic doctor, an anti-aging doctor as well. Okay, of course I'll be just true that you have to be taking care of your skin to age gracefully. Why? As you
Yeah.
have said, Katrina, a while ago, that everyone looks at the physical appearance or the outside of appearance, just to say, okay, your age is 70 or 60 or 50, right? Okay. So what we do is actually you have to take care of your skin. So definitely you have to constantly protect yourself against the sunlight. And I did not mention about UV radiation. It's actually part of radiation. It's actually one that's causing us the free radicals, and these are actually deleterious to our skin, and we really will be aging with just an exposure. Okay, one is when you would have to be exposing, especially for the tropicals. Okay, it's so
Yeah.
hot for near the equator zone, or that well, of course I'm not too keen with that. But then of course, yes, you will have to be exposing just to get or to source a vitamin D, which we all need as we are all aging. The vitamin D is good for our bones. Okay, so but then of course, how can you be preventing cancer when you would have to be exposed to sunlight? Like, okay, the best time to expose is during the sunrise. They say, for example, before 9 or 10. Okay, depending on your location, right? Okay, if you're in the boondocks, okay, say for example, of course, when you would have it, okay, a sunrise at 8 or 9, that's already very hot. Okay, but if you're in the lowland staying, say for example, then of course when that is 6, 7, 8, okay, you will still be able to expose yourself, okay, even before 10 o'clock. But between 10 to 3 o'clock, you don't expose. Okay. Oh well, of course, if you may be exposed, then you have to be protecting or covering yourself with your SPF. Okay, so then of course you can actually be clad in a brim hat, or say for example a cap or hat. So, and you may have your bandanas or anything that would cover your body or your face to actually be going through that particular time between 10 to 3 o'clock. Okay, so then also you get, okay, yearly skin cancer appointment, okay, or screening. You go to your reputable dermatologist to actually do your screening, especially if there's some moles or some pigments that are actually enlarging and you're not even certain if that is cancer or not. And most especially if you have, okay, genetic predisposition. Let's say, for example, somebody in your family had skin cancer, and then you also had that particular mole or something that, okay, a nevus that actually is growing, then you might just have to go for screening on a yearly basis. Okay, and especially if your work also warrants that you need to be going for, skin cancer screening. So if you're constantly doing or going into the fields, okay, you're going into like you're constantly out of the sun, okay, then you would have to go for screening. Also, you do stick to your gentle anti-aging armamentarium or your regimens, okay, that actually prevents you from aging, as well as you always have to stay hydrated. So most of us who are actually not actually drinking water, or at times would be going for some soda or some of these diuretic beverages like, okay, tea or coffee, no, this actually would cause us aging. So that actually makes our skin so dehydrated. Okay, so okay, let me just say also that exercise is beneficial, because if like you are actually exercising, then of course it makes your heart younger. And then of course your circulation also is very, very good, and excretes out all the toxins in our body. And then of course the DOH actually here recommends that we have to go for some exercises at least 2 to 5 hours in a week. So you can just divide it, okay, depending on your schedule. Okay, say for example you're too busy, then you can just have it divided. You have to divide it at least 2.5 to 5 hours in one whole week. And then of course for some strenuous activities, say for example, you can have it at least a 1.5 to 2.5 hours. So at least any of the activities like walking, you can do swimming, biking, any sports that will make you sweat. Okay, so then that's actually good. And then of course that would make your muscles also toned a bit, and then of course you can actually replace your fats with muscle. So that's actually part of aging gracefully. And then of course there are those that are actually looking into their diet. Okay, so medyo ito diet and exercise,
Mhm.
no, very very relatable. Meaning, okay, yeah, of course I'm a voracious eater. So when I would actually be looking into the diet now, it has totally changed when especially I became a doctor. But then of course sometimes I would have a cheating, what do you call that? A cheat day. Do you do that, Miss Dara?
Cheat day.
Cheat day, do you do? And how about you, Miss
Yes, I do
Katrina?
that twice a week.
Ah, you do twice a week. My God, you don't look.
Twice a
You
week.
don't look like you are actually into that. Okay, because you are too slim and svelte and sleek.
I do.
Oh yes,
Thank you,
diet
Doc.
is
I
so.
do. Nako, effort.
How about Miss Katrina there in Belgium? You do?
I do a lot of cheese. Yes, of course. There's so many nice, I mean, yummy foods
Yeah,
here that
I'm
I
sure
just
because you're
hope I
tasting a lot
can
of it
afford.
because it's just new to it's new to. Oh no, you said about like you're 7 years already in Belgium.
Yeah.
So between
Yes.
Belgian food, I'm sure you will just have to say that you would love, okay, the Pinoy food. Or you're missing a lot of Pinoy food. Are
Speaking
you?
of, yes, yes, I do. I try to cook as much as Filipino foods as possible.
Wow, you do.
But like, yeah, speaking of sugar, I mean, we all know that Belgium produces the best chocolates in
I'm
the
sure, yeah,
world,
the
and
Belgian
so
chocolate.
yes,
Okay, I just wonder, okay, how you actually would, would crave, and at times you would actually just be, preventing yourself to be just eating. Well, of course, okay, important in the diet that you have to actually go for healthy food. This is basic. Well, there's nothing really new about like food. Like, okay, as long as you are actually, dividing the food plate, okay, say for example, into one half of vegetables and fruit. and then you have a protein, and then a little carbohydrates. Okay, then you can just have, okay, some carbohydrates. Okay, not really just rice. Okay, but then can you replace it with some organics, like, okay, the kamote. Okay, say what's that, potato, or yeah, you have those. Okay, or yam. Okay, so these are the things that you can just be replacing carbohydrates, or say your rice. And then of course you can always just go for lean protein, can soya, these things. Okay, before I never would eat this because it's like, okay, I'm not a goat. Okay, see, I would always tell my guy, okay, I'm not a goat. You don't feed me like green leafy vegetable. I'm not. Okay, but nowadays, have to change. Okay, your diet. You have to actually be dividing it into the quarters, or one half of the vegetables and fruit, and no more of those. Okay, like sodas. Okay, that would be too much of sugar. And of course, like, you have your sodas and colas. Okay, so please. Okay, and then of course, avoid eating those that are actually processed. So those things are basic. Okay, so processed food because a lot of phosphorus, and later on that might be too toxic to your kidneys. Okay, so a lot of canned goods, actually, those processed foods, canned goods. Okay, they're laden with a lot of uh, unnecessary minerals that might just cause us to actually go into aging. So matters of the mind, of course, you have to keep up with your mood. So of course, you just have to make yourself, okay, happy thought. Usually happy thoughts, and then of course you would have to just be going for your loved ones, okay, because you have to bring a lot of happy memories and all that. If you have fur babies, say for example you have dogs, because it actually decreases your mood. I mean your depressions. It lightens up everything. Okay, when you have dogs or pets, do you have dogs, or do you have some pets that you take care of, Miss Dara? Do you
None.
have
It's
pets?
bawal eh. Bawal here where I live in the condo.
It's because of the
We're
condo,
not
right? Oh,
allowed.
oh, so
Condo
well, of
rules.
course you can just.
Pero I would love to have a dog,
Yes,
Saya. I would love
definitely.
to have
Oh,
one.
so it actually is, well, in the studies that they actually prevent you from going into depression, anxiety, or panic attacks when you have some pets or fur babies that you can be taking care of. Okay, so, or maybe if it's not allowed there, you may go into, oh, of course, birds are not allowed to. How about fish? Miss Dara, have an
Pwedeng
aquarium.
fish. I have plants.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're a plantita. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good. Actually, you can just divert it
That's
there. Right. Okay. Of course,
Mhm.
accepting your age could be also, because, age, when you're aging, it's a matter of the mind, right? Okay. Oh my God, I'm aging. I will have to see lines later on and all that. Okay. So accept the age, because your age is, well, it may be evident to some people, but then you have to maintain a positive outlook that are at and maybe attitude that you are aged already. But of course, you can actually be graceful. You can be aging gracefully still, right? Of course, and of course, you do things that you enjoy the most. Okay, so if you don't like it, okay, then immediately, you can actually say no to it. Okay, if like, okay, it's actually frustrating. It's causing you a lot of troubles, some miserable moments. Okay, then you just have to stop. Meaning, just do enjoy what you love most. Okay, then physically active, you can actually be staying physically active. Okay, because there's a lot of studies that says that if you are sedentary, then you have a lot of aging that's coming in. Okay, when you are actually a couch potato, okay, just like, okay, during this pandemic, you're not doing anything, you're not even exercising. Okay, a lot of sluggishness. Okay, and even the circulation slows down, so it makes you age so fast. Okay, so then you have to be very, very active. And then, of course, you lower your stress. Okay, when you lower your stress, then of course you can actually just do some yoga, some exercise training, some relaxations. You can actually go for whatever hobbies that you have. And then, of course, you may also go for, well, you can actually be just talking with your friend. So talking with your friend, of course, on happy thoughts. See, when you're talking, and then you're talking about some friends that
Yes.
that you hated the most, and then of course that somebody was just asked you at your back, or talking behind your back, you might just have a problem with that. Okay, so then of course you have to also Another tip for aging gracefully is you have to quit smoking, and of course some other vices like, okay, alcohol. It doesn't do you good. Of course, when you are actually smoking, then a lot of your cells are dying. It's like when you actually you have this
Yeah.
Bermuda grass, say for example, and when you burn it, that's actually how it looks inside your lungs. Okay, so once it's denuded, or say once it's actually burned, okay, these respiratory cells, or this cilia that actually lines your mucosal lining of the respiratory tract, will not grow anymore. So once they die, okay, they die. And then like later on, you can actually run into some other complications. You can actually have diseases like emphysema, COPD, and all those cancers that will be emanating from smoking. And even, okay, am I still here?
Yes, we're still.
I'm not
Yes,
too used
Doc.
to.
Yes, we're listening
I
to
felt that
you.
I thought that you guys left me. I'm so sorry.
No. Ano, Doc, may
Sorry.
mga no,
I
no, meron na kaming questions.
Okay, sige, sige.
I
Okay,
just
you
put
can
you
actually
on
interrupt me when I'm, I talk too fast,
No,
but
no, no.
it's, as you told me that it's just 1 hour that I have to be just doing some talks, and then of course I might just not be able to. Just interrupt me, Miss Dara, Miss Catherine, Miss Cat.
No,
Dr.
the
James, sorry,
the
I
yeah.
just put you on spotlight. Because you're
Oh,
here.
that's it. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So once you see
Yeah.
me alone, okay,
Okay.
I'm on a
Yeah,
spotlight.
okay. Even before you can be asking me some
Yeah.
questions, I'll just
Yeah.
have, okay, some other tips that I can just give you
Yeah.
our audience,
Um,
that to make them actually have, okay, more tips of like, okay, aging gracefully. As I've said, smoking and
Yeah.
alcohol is a no-no. So you don't actually do that because, okay,
Yeah.
they say about like, okay, doing alcohol or getting alcohol will be beneficial for those who have some problems with, in terms of the atherosclerosis, or some plaques in their blood vessels. Okay, it might just be good for some men and women, but just a small amount. Say, for example, in a day, you can just have 1 glass for the women, and then, of course, one or 2 glasses for the male. Okay. Or if it's a hard liquor, then you can just have a 1 jigger. Okay. Then one shot per day. So that's advisable. Okay. So there are those who are actually amongst the those Europeans. They're actually fond of the wine. Okay, Miss Cat, diba? Okay, so I know that you're constantly having red wine for the meat. Okay, and then for the fish, you have a white wine. That's actually good, and there are a lot of studies that actually correlated well with that. Okay, and it's actually beneficial for the heart. So, okay, and prevents atherosclerosis. Yes, okay, but not too much, I guess, because of course your brain cells will also be will be affected. Okay, and then getting enough sleep. I'm sure all of us. Okay, so yes, Miss Dara. Mm.
Yes, Dr. James. Okay, so
Mm.
we're talking about wine. Kaya ngayon, yung technique ko, before kasi I'm a wine lover. I used to
Connoisseur.
drink a lot, no?
Wow.
Siguro mga 10 years ago. But then I stopped kasi nga syempre, it might do harm to my skin. So what I do now is, when I go out na lang with friends, doon na lang ako bumabawi. And then when I'm home, I
Yeah.
don't drink na lang talaga. Kasi
What?
I wanna,
Uh-oh.
make my skin look youthful as long as I can.
Yeah.
Kasi, we're not getting any younger. And then, Doc, di ba? Super youth obsessed yung ating culture, di ba? I just wanna share it
True.
with you kasi ang
Mm.
Pinoys, mahilig silang magtanong eh. Like, even if I don't know them, I just bump into them. I go to the grocery or wherever, they always ask, oh, ilang taon na kayo? How old are you? And all. Actually, it's not ethical to ask a person's age. But
Exactly.
then, parang 'di ba, nakasanayan na nung mga tao dito. So, ang technique ko, parati kong sinasabi, o sige, you guess na lang my age and then I'll tell you if it's correct or not. And then, but anyway, I had this super weird experience before. I was walking by the poolside, and then one of the guards, commented naman and complimented me and said na, "Hi ma'am, good evening, ganyan-ganyan." Ayan na naman, of course, they asked that question, "How old are you?" and all. So, syempre, I said, "Naku, kuya, you ano na lang, you guess na lang my age and then I'll tell you." And then, this is so weird, he looked at my elbow, ito, yung siko ko. And then, parang meron, syempre, may folds, di ba? And then
Uh-huh.
he was like counting the folds. I'm like, what the heck is that? This is the first time I know
I
it's
don't know that.
hilarious and weird. And then, Yeah, I don't know where
And
he got that idea. And then he said, siguro ma'am, mga nasa 40 na kayo. Gusto ko sabihin, buti na lang na-guess mo nasa 40. Kundi I will throw you there on the
In the
pool.
water.
I'm just kidding. Pero,
It's so funny.
yeah,
Renaat
yeah,
Oh.
Katrina, that, oh, diba? It's so weird, Katrina and Doc. Parang,
ano ka
That
ka?
is
it's
so
super,
weird. I mean, like, okay. Well, you know
kaya
what? This
nga,
is the first time that I have heard of that, Miss Dara. So I've never heard of that. Okay, they're looking into the
me
elbows to just see.
too.
Okay, okay. What are they looking at? The creases or the folds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
No,
folds,
it's like
parang, yeah,
Uh
parang he
huh.
was counting the folds. Parang,
Oh
ang
no.
weird naman yan, kuya. First time ko lang yan narinig, no? Yeah,
Oh,
it's really weird. Buti na lang
I
I don't get mad. I'm just sports.
of
Kasi
course,
it's
okay.
something
Getting
new
mad is
talaga.
actually yes, of course. One thing it's a no-no. Getting mad and very angry. Okay,
Oh,
also that actually
yeah.
makes you age, and a lot of
Mm-mm.
hormones are actually surgingly high. That could cause you hypertension, and then of course, you couldn't even age at all because might just die because you are actually angry because of stroke or
Yeah,
something
wag
else.
na.
Okay, you just wag
Oo.
na. Bawas na lang,
Sa
lessening away-away, galit-galit, 'di ba? Of course, that could also cause an
Oo,
aging.
yeah.
Okay, sabihin mo na lang kay kuya, of course, the next time. Of course, I don't really, yeah, I've heard of some, okay, would be counting on the lines on the forehead. Yes, you're probably, okay, once you have already a line in the forehead, they say that you're already 40s or 50s. And then we have okay, 40s when you have a line in the middle. And then, okay, if you have one on top of that midline, okay, they would say that you're already on the 50s. And when you have other lines, okay, they're probably 60s. So, but this is the first time I'm
Oo,
actually hearing, okay, the one in the elbow. What if your
diba,
elbow
Doc?
is
It's so weird.
It's so weird, right? Okay, but
yeah, that's funny.
I know,
no,
it's so weird.
it's so funny. But
Yeah.
then, of course, well, at least, well, he's actually fascinated. Probably she doesn't ought to see you. Yeah, that's why actually, as a guard, he wouldn't even ask to pay
He,
the no the people there about age, especially for a lady. Okay, but then of course he just wanted to be talking with you, and then of course just to ask you about your age. Probably well, of course, he said about like, okay, you're 40, and then of course, you almost you just guessed the right age. But then of course, okay lang, okay. Because at least they're so interested. Kasi yung iba, kasi parang, okay, say for example, me, they wouldn't even be asking my age, okay. They couldn't even care less. Parang, okay, you, of
ganun
course,
ba,
you're so
Doc?
beautiful. You're so beautiful. Like, so that's why they would ask your age. And then, of course, probably in their
Thank
mind, it's
you,
lurking.
Doc.
It's lurking in their brain. She's probably 30s or 40s. Or maybe something, some age also. Right, Kat?
Yes, yes, definitely. Nakakatuwa. I'm having fun in this conversation. By the way, Doc, before we move forward to top aging or top anti-aging treatments and
uh,
more, can you plug in your yes? How do we get in touch with you?
Okay, I
Anything?
have okay. Oh well, of course,
Yeah.
at this particular time, okay, when IATF has declared that okay, we are not actually allowed to so for personal care. I mean, okay, we can be opening soon as okay, we can be viable. No, the customers or the clients are actually viable already, so they can actually be going into my clinic at the Centuria Makati. That's at the 16th floor. Then they can also have at the Philippine Stock Exchange. Okay, that's at the ninth floor. Okay, so then well, of course, they should be just calling first or texting first for appointment if they would want to get in touch with me. So, yeah, that's just about it. Yes. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. James.
Yes.
Now let's go to the popular treatment that I often heard, but actually it's a brand. So we
Mm-hmm.
often, yeah, it's a botulinum toxin, but most people
Oh,
call it
yeah. Actually, the one you're actually supposed to mention, I guess, is the Botox, right? But then, of course, it's actually in generic. That's actually a brand you mentioned. But then, of course, in general, they are called botulinum toxin. Okay. Well, yes, you said about it. Okay, it's a topmost procedure, But well, this is in comparison to some of the other procedures that are actually getting their a lot of people are already oriented to it, right? Okay, but then of course, botulinum toxin is really for the aging population. Okay, those who doesn't want to have some of their lines. apparent, or meaning appearing. Okay, so
Mhm.
they would have to actually erase or eradicate those lines. Okay, up to a certain point. Okay, the botulinum toxin is just there to actually relax the muscles that are constantly contracting. Okay, contracting, and then of course when it's contracting, it causes you some lines there, and also with positioning. Okay, so positioning when you lie on bed, okay, and then you're constantly on the left lateral or right lateral. Okay, that could cause you some lines, okay, like 11 onto your forehead. Okay, then you actually can just be going for that. Okay, since we have, okay, a fissure or a line or a furrow there, then you can actually go for some treatments for a botulinum toxin. Okay, so well, of course, it's when the lines are appearing. Okay, it could actually be a sign that you're already aging. When, okay, of course, the collagen and the elastin has gone. I mean, has gone depleted or almost just depleting. Okay, so then of course that's when you have when you will see lines apparent. Okay, so some would not be receptive to it because of the needles, but of course it's usually anesthetized, meaning there's a numbing cream that we actually just put, or sometimes would also be putting also some ice to block that nerve or some pain nerve there. Okay, so then of course, so that you'll be able to go through the muscle that you're going to target to prevent, okay, the contraction and relax and to relax the muscle. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to be going for your consult to your aesthetic
Yeah.
doctor, and then, okay, anti-aging doctor, and of course your dermatologist also, that they can actually be assessing if it's indicated for you. It's not for all, because there are those that are actually wanting it, but they're not actually a good candidate for having it, especially the younger age or generation. Yes, Miss
Mhm.
Dara. Yes.
Yes, Doc. How long is will the
Botulinum,
botulinum
right?
toxin? Yeah, botulinum toxin last if you get it.
Okay, it depends and it varies. Okay, and then, okay, it depends and it varies. Okay, well, one depends on the brand and of course the mechanism of action, right? Okay, and especially it also varies for if it's a female or a male. No, when most of the male that we have a
Mhm.
double dose because of the activity and the muscles are too rigid as compared to
Mm.
female. And then of course, depending on the activity as well. If like, okay, your activity is constantly like, okay, you're exposing yourself to sun when you play golf, or when you bathe in the, okay, in the swimming pool constantly, okay, and exposed to the sun. And then of course you're near cooking. Say for example, the moms would cook, and then actually their face is actually onto the lid, or say for example into the, what do you call that? I'm not cooking with that. Okay, the stove, say for example, are the utensils, right? Okay, so the heat actually cause the denaturation of the botulinum toxin, okay, and then may actually cause some real contractions of the muscle, and then of course that would actually cause a lot of lines and wrinkles appearing again. So it depends on activity, but on the average, okay, some that I have actually looked into, they would be going for 6 to 8 months, okay, depending on, yeah, the activity. And then of course if you go constantly to sauna or spa, right? Okay, once you have injected, and then of course you're constantly on the sauna spot, because sauna or steam bath rather, when you would actually like to have, okay, a slimming or something like that, okay, then you're constantly there, and then you are actually going to actually denature the botulinum that was injected, so it actually will be shorter than you expected, right?
Yes,
Yes,
doctor.
Miss Cat.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned earlier that not all are qualified or not
Right.
a good candidate to undergo botulinum toxin. Now, I heard from someone, she's actually from the Latin America, that in their country, as early as 18 years, you can already start getting this treatment
In
from
Latin
where.
America, right? Of course. Okay, depending on the well, of course, the topography also is would vary. Like, okay, if you're constantly in the near the equator, say for example, or you're in a very hot country that causes you a lot of lines and marks and all that, then they can actually be just doing that, depending on like well, of course, we don't really recommend it to the younger than 18. Say, for example, if you're adult already, then you can actually be
Mm-mm.
just going as long as there is an indication. That's number one, and the doctor would know, of course, if there is an indication. If just for purposes, and it's very young, okay, 18 years old, there's no lines at all, okay. Or say, for example, there will be like, well, we do some indications for some of the masseters or the in the show. Say, for example, when you have to actually slim a bit and to flatten that, okay, then would actually be just doing botulinum. And then of course, yeah, there's some indications for the young ones, but then not really too young, meaning okay, of age, okay, like 18 at the adult at that. Okay, so
Okay.
but we do some indications for some of the problems. Okay, say you have a migraine, okay, then we do botulinum toxin also, even if you're at a very young age. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Right.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
So let's go back to you, Dara. Do you have any thoughts about top anti-aging treatments
Oh yeah.
you'd like to?
Mm-mm.
Yes, Doc, what about those fillers? Like for the
Oh yeah.
lips, for more plump lips, or for, those areas that are already kind of sagging.
Oh yeah, of course that comes next too. Like after botulinum toxin, okay, there's also the fillers that comes in. Okay, there's fillers are actually for the word itself, it actually to fill up the spaces that are actually already dipped or having some what do you call this, depressions. Okay, or it's actually already sagging. You have to lift an area, say for example. Okay, then you can just do fillers. Okay, it's not really for all, but then of course have to see the doctors have to see, okay, the skin, like, okay, how thin is the skin, because you're not going to inject if it's going to be actually protruding or actually be so the if it's going to be bulging, say for example. No, so but then of course it can be assessed. Okay, it's not for all also, then and problem is, okay, you have to be very keen, well trained for the doctors. So I'm talking about the doctors. Then the doctors have to be trained for some
Mm.
anatomical considerations, and so, people would have a varying anatomy, and then of course you might just have some complications or side effects once you don't know much about it. Of course, that's the reason why we actually would advocate or would actually ask our patients or clients to just go to their reputable doctors who's actually trained, okay, not those that are actually just having, okay, some experience, or they may have heard it, or they may have actually seen
Mm-mm.
it, okay, on YouTube, say for example. Those are actually doing some procedures and they're not medical. So it's important that you would go to a trained doctor who does a lot of procedures, and then of course has also experienced, okay, some complications. So yeah, you said about lips. Okay,
Yeah.
lips is actually constantly being asked nowadays. Okay, because they wanted to have a protruding lips, a
Mm-mm.
pouty lips. Okay, that really makes you young also.
Mm-mm.
So yes, of course. The problem is with fillers. There, we call it as an overfilled syndrome. Sometimes even some patients, they wanted more.
Mm-mm.
Okay, even if like the doctors have already said, okay, that's actually the right amount for you for that particular protrusion, or for you to have that pouty lips. Then of course they would see, sometimes they would request for more, or sometimes they would be going and hopping into some other doctors who might be just receptive to just be filling it up some more. And then of course, then okay, the problem there is actually the consistency of the fillers, when they don't even know, okay, what the filler was that was injected, and then they're going to have another filler of not actually the same consistency and properties or prime, say for example. So fillers are good, and then of course they actually look make you look young, and it would vary into terms of also the activity, and then of course the but of course if you're constantly doing a lot of grimacing or say activities on the face, and then actually that would actually not be lasting so long. So then you can have a retouch, or some additional fillers, and then of course, yes, there's a lot of complications, but of course, the doctors know well on how to actually prevent those complications. Yes. So
All right.
Doc,
yes, okay. Okay, Sarah,
yes.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
speaking of people who actually perform those procedures, one time I was checking Facebook, and, all these ads come out, right? So there was this, they were advertising the Barbie thread lift, and then it
Mm,
says there that it's only 8,999. Sabi ko, ang mura naman ito. But I forgot the name of the place. But anyway, so
mm,
I just messaged them because I got so curious, no? So I asked, so who will do the procedure? Is it a doctor, a certified doctor? Because I just want to know, right? And they answered them on honesty. It's a nurse. I'm like, okay, thank you. It's like, oh, scary. It's not performed by a doctor. I'm not looking down on nurses, but for me, it's not their specialty. And so, I mean, why will you perform those procedures if you're not certified?
mhm. Yeah, of course. Okay, yeah, you mentioned about that thread lift thing. Okay, yeah, it actually does good thing on the, okay, say for example, you want to lift the brow or say a forehead that has already been protruding or drooping. Yes, it actually has a real good effect on that. Okay, and it's very beneficial on that also. Okay, for some amounts, say for example, you mentioned about that amount. Okay, I don't know if that is the right amount. That's way too low. But of course, if you want to have a reputable,
Yes.
yeah, or you have real good threads, okay, it has to come from a real good source, meaning those that are actually approved or accredited by also the societies, the different societies for the derma aesthetic and the cosmetic and the plastic. Okay, so one thing is that well, it has to really be a doctor who's doing that. So any insertions of
Mhm.
whatever, any incisions or any of course cutting that needs to actually be done by a certified doctor. Okay, so I don't think that it will be well, of course we never had trainings for, I mean, I'm also a nurse, but then of course I never had trainings like that, okay,
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
for our profession. But then of course let's just give it to the one who's really more experience, had the training, and then of course had real patience, and then of course doing they deal more on the complications, and then of course it's not just after like, okay, the patient has complication, then okay, you're just going to hide. You're just going to hide and then okay, refer it
Yeah.
to the doctor. Some of the doctors would be ethical to not actually be touching it because they would want that, okay, the one who has done that, okay, that complication will be addressed to by that one who actually who did that, right? Okay, but then of course if they're just going to be shying away or actually escaping from all their mistakes, okay, then of course then they should not be doing it in the first place. Right. Okay. Yes. And
All
even the
right.
price is not
Thank you,
actually the
Doc.
price.
Mm.
Right. Thank you. You're welcome. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Uh
Yes.
huh.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
Miss
you
Cat.
so much. Yes, thank you for clarifying that to our audience as well. Kasi for sure, ang dami dyan magtatanong,
True.
what they're gonna deal with those problems in the future. And so, my question naman is about resurfacing, right?
Oh,
Skin resurfacing.
refusing. Right.
Yes,
Okay.
can you quickly cover that particular treatment? What actually it
Okay.
does?
Resurfacing causes a lot of causes a lot of difference into say okay the youthfulness of the skin, right? Okay, it's not for all also. Okay, so even if you're of age, say for example you wanted the resurfacing, yeah, you can well, if I may just clarify that, okay, there are a lot of ways that we can actually do resurfacing. Okay, so but then of course those even the chemical peels, they're part of resurfacing, right? Okay, but not for all. So there are indications for that. Okay, say for example that of course there will also be some contraindications for it, right? Okay, so especially those that are pregnant, okay, lactating moms, okay, they're not going for that. Even like postpartum, they wanted that, okay, to eradicate some of the hyperpigmentation. There will be a time that they can actually be going through that only if and when they're not lactating anymore. And even during the pregnancy, they cannot be going in for chemical peels. Okay, so because of the possible complications. Okay, so resurfacing is very common. Okay, very common in the Philippines, and because they wanted to have a lightened effect. Okay, well, basically, you're trying to just touch on, okay, remove the dead skin cells. So once you have removal of the dead skin cells, as you know, there's always a span for our skin cells, right? Okay, so once you don't do scrubbing, say for example, you don't do desquamation or exfoliation or dermabrasion, say for example, then that would cause you some. darkening of your skin, and especially the one that was asked by Miss Dara. But would at least your elbow is lighter and brighter because sometimes for the ladies,
Mm-mm.
males would always be looking into the elbows, right? Okay, because they wanted an elbow that is
Yes.
actually
Mm-hmm.
bright, not really too dark, meaning that's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
dead skin cells in that area if you are actually having hyperpigmented area in that area, no? So when you do dermabrasion, microdermabrasion, or the desquamation, exfoliation, or scrub, okay, in the layman's, okay, this will be just good to resurface and to have the new cells to be regenerated, and then makes you actually have a glowing skin. So the problem there is if and when you expose yourself to sunlight thereafter, that will cause you some bigger
Yeah.
problems, okay? And then of course definitely your skin is already young, okay? And then of course you might just have hyperpigmentation or melasma later on because you have exposed yourself to the sunlight. If it's not actually totally explained to you by a doctor, or say for example, I'm sure the doctors would explain that, or if you just go to non-reputable salons or something that would address that, okay, just doing some hanky panties on your skin might just have a complication later on, which is even harder to actually treat. If like, okay, you're just having certain spots or blemishes there that can just be eradicated by just simple desquamation or exfoliation, and then once you have an exposure, then or say some astringent use also that makes you actually have a black spot here, yeah, as you may have seen, and some of those are actually just applying it vigorously and rubbing it onto the surface of the skin, and later they will have to be exposed to the sunlight, or say they would have to be cooking, right? They can actually be having melasma, and then of course you would have to have some more aggressive procedures to actually eradicate that. You can just go for lasers that may be too expensive for you to just have a certain treatment of that, and usually it comes in series just to be eradicating at least 10, minimum of 10, or depending on how deep and how, okay, depending on the magnitude also of the pigments, right? Mm-mm.
All
So
right. Okay. Thank you so much, Doc, for that information.
all
Yes,
right.
Dara?
Yes. Well, uh, you know what? I'm just amazed. I learned so much in an hour about anti-aging, aging, and prevention and treatments. Thank you so much, Dr. James.
Oh, you're
And
welcome
I
anytime.
wish we had
Yeah,
more time, no, Katrina.
oh, okay.
Baka we
Yeah.
can do a part two.
Oh,
Yes.
surely, okay. We can actually just mount on that. Okay, we can actually just have another. Well, actually, there's too much to actually be discussing in aesthetic and anti-aging. We're just on the superficial, if I may just say, or like a prelude to it.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah,
I
it's
look
bitin,
forward.
Doc. Eh. It's bitin. Parang we want more. I want more.
Oh,
I'm learning a lot. I mean, aging is not just physical, it's really
oh yeah.
intrinsic. So
Right.
it's inside out. So,
True.
yeah, wow. We
Yeah, that's the
covered, at
reason
least we
why.
have the
Yeah.
foundation now.
All right. 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 That's true.
Mm-mm.
Uh-huh.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, surely we can have you back, Doc, so we
Oh,
can,
please, I'd
talk
love to
more.
be. Okay. I'd love to be invited again. Okay, with
Yes.
these two beautiful ladies in front of me.
Dara, can you invite
Thank you,
our
Doc. Thank you.
Dara? Would you please invite our viewers
Yeah,
to check you out as well? Your social media.
yes, yes. I'd like to invite all of you guys to please check out, of course, my YouTube channel, Beauty and Beyond. I do regular vlogs on a weekly basis. And of course, Katrina's Pinoy Reel. And please visit Dr. James in his clinic, Renewage. So ako rin, Doc, I will visit you one day
Oh yes.
soon.
Okay.
Diba?
Surely, please. Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. So I would like to invite everyone as well to join our growing community of high achievers, like aspiring and accomplished entrepreneurs. Join our community to learn and collaborate with like minded folks like you. So, guys, just click the link below. There will be a link to join the community. All right.
Oh.
Okay. And lastly, I would like to invite everyone to my ebook. Just sharing you this one. Yes, it's actually complete and finally out, ready for download. It's called Build Your Home Business the Right Way. There will be a link down below, so check it out. All right. So, guys, first of all, I want to thank Dr. James for being here. Thank you so much for being so generous in today's topic, which is all about aging gracefully. It's a real honor to have you. And of course, thank you so much, Dara, for connecting us to Dr. James. You are such a blessing to Pinoy Real.
Oh, thank you so, so much. My pleasure.
All right. So thank you everyone who watches this live interview all the way through. Thank you for sticking with us. Enjoy your work week, and till next week, everyone. Have a great week. Bye bye.
Bye.